Hey guys, welcome back to the fifth episode of Featuring Regular People. I just want to say a huge thank you for obviously the feedback and the incredible response that we've got so far. Obviously every single guest that we've brought on, we're incredibly excited about, but this one in particular, there's so many different aspects and things that we want to dive into. But I just want to give the floor to Sam. Firstly, thank you for being here, but just give us a quick background on who you are, what you're doing, etc., etc.
Sweet. So, I'm Sam, as you mentioned. I met Khan through working back at Dirty Vegans. And he wanted to get me on, have a chat about a few things. Basically, I'm 28. I work in the restaurant still, but also I work in sex work, so I've got like Onlyfans. Obviously, over the last year, that's taken more of a precedent in my life and my time because I've been on furlough. So it's been good, man. Yeah, like I'm just a pretty open book, so I'm excited to come on and chat with you guys about my life and what I get up to and whatever you guys want to know.
Yeah, nice, man. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. That's why when I was chatting to Luke about doing this podcast thing, you were one of the first people I messaged. I messaged him like 3 months ago, Luke, when we first discussed it. I was like, when we start having people on, mate, I'm gonna get you on because. Obviously, when I started working with Sam, literally from day one, like there's nothing you can't talk to the geezer about. He's a pretty open book and generally quite sound geezer. I think your Instagram says that in itself more than anything.
I think one of the first things as well was just like when we were talking about the first guest that we wanted to talk to and why, and Khan was obviously talk to me a bit about your history and. Obviously, I don't know you, which is why I'm so excited about tonight. But
yeah,
one of the biggest things is just like the variety of things that you've done and the things that you're doing now, and actually the kind of message that it sends in this day and age, I think is a really positive one.
Yeah, man.
So man, like I'm really excited for this.
That's cool. Yeah, sweet. Me too, man. Yeah, like I think, like you're saying, with like variety of things. That's one thing that I've sort of always been the same in my mindset. Like I left school and I went straight into work like when I was 16, and I've had so many different jobs and like countless things that I've done because in my opinion it's not like when you're at school especially you're fed this line of like you need to know what you're doing and you need to have it worked out by whatever age and like mate, I haven't got shit worked out but I enjoy my life, you know what I mean? I do something different like every couple of years pretty much, but I've never been unhappy. I just enjoy life and I go with the flow.
Yeah, that's what I think we initially bonded over, mate. Is like because I've never had any idea what I was doing. I went travelling when I was 18. I went to uni just to have a laugh. Like genuinely, that's what I told my parents. I was like, all right, I'll go, but I'm just going for fun. And like ever since I finished uni, I had no clue what I was doing. Worked in a vegan restaurant randomly for like a year. Chatted to you and like. Obviously, you're like a few years older than me, but to meet someone with that same kind of mindset who's just like, fuck it, mate, I'm just rolling with it, but also having a good time. And it's your bio on Instagram cracked me up the other day because it's like, it just says a happy man, full stop.
That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, man. But like, that's the thing as well. Judging by your Insta, like, you're clear, and obviously I know you, so I know, like, you're quite a confident guy. Like, would you say you've always been that way, or?
You know what, man? I think I've always been confident to a certain level. Like when it comes to like speaking with people and like being just like on my A game in terms of conversation or having something to say, I've never really struggled with that. I think like image wise, is something that's come more later in life for me. I used to train hard, like mate, you know, I showed you photos what I used to look like, man. I was a fucking lump, mate. I was like a big boy. Spent every day in the gym. All I've done was train and eat like chicken and rice 5 times a day. I was
that whole diet.
Yeah, that was it. But I was less confident with my image then than I am now, I'd say.
Well, that's the thing that always fascinated me about you, mate.
Say that again, mate?
I said that's what's always fascinated me about you. Like, to most hopefully you'll send me some pictures, we can put some on the video, but like mate, what you used to look like is what most lads who train and eat the chicken and rice, like that's what they want to look like. And then I remember you saying to me once, you're just like, yeah, I just fucked it off. You're like, I'm way more happier now.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, man. it takes over your life, I think. Well, especially the way I was doing it. It was like, I didn't go out and party that much. Like, when I went out for meals, I was eating boring shit because all I cared about was my size. And like, it become like more of a focal point of my life. Whereas now, like, yeah, I'll go to the gym a couple of times a week, or I'll eat quite healthy. I mean, obviously being vegan, there's a lot of food that you'll just eat anyway, which is probably a lot healthier than if you weren't. But like, I think like I found like a balance where I've got like a reasonable shape to me. I'm a bit, I'll be honest, mate, I'm a fair bit fatter since the start of lockdown. But mate, like, I don't really lose confidence with that. Do you know what I mean? I'll be like, yeah, mate, I've got fucking dad bod. People love dad bods.
Well, yeah, I think been well popular a few years ago.
Mate, I think it's one of them as well. Like, you have obviously been in, for a lot of people's terms, like peak physical shape, right?
Yeah.
And then you have made this huge decision to go to like, right, I just want to be comfortable in my own skin. And more of a reflection of myself is like, I was always that skinny kid at school, innit? So it was always a case of like being not very comfortable at all. And it wasn't until the past couple of years where I've been like, right, I want to train, I want to do this, I want to do that, not to the point of obsession, but to the point of being confident. And it's a really, really, really nice kind of point of view where you can just kind of adapt and actually do things for the sake of like your personal happiness, as opposed to a reflection of what society thinks that you should look like. I don't know if that's something that you kind of share.
Yeah, like 100%. Like, like I say, I spent so much time in the gym, but I didn't even see myself as being a big lad or being in shape at the time. I think you become so engrossed in it all that, like, in hindsight, I look back and I think, fucking hell, mate, look at the size of me then. Like, but at the time, like you say, you become so engrossed in it, you don't really see that. You don't really notice the I'm in peak physical condition kind of thing. You just go with emotion. And like, now I've because I've been there and I've come out of it and I've just got my sort of stability. Now I can appreciate it more, and I can be like, look, I've actually probably in better shape now. And also, like I say, with the added confidence, I think it becomes more of like an attractive trait to people who you want to attract as well. Like, the last thing girls want is some bloke who's like, yeah, mate, I fucking bench pressed this yesterday and I can lift that in the gym. And I eat chicken and rice. Do you know what I mean? They don't really, it's very rare that someone gives a shit about that. So like,
that's what my little brother says. Yeah. So he's like, mate, how you used to describe yourself, that's what he is now. Like, mate, in the powerlifting team at uni. And he's like, to be honest, mate, I find that other lads are more interested in my gym achievements than girls are. I'm like, yeah, that's always the way, bro.
Yeah, that is always the way.
Oh, mate.
I mean, obviously, you know, there's that side of it, isn't there, where you're like, you try to lift heavy. I mean, I'm not a big guy, and I'm 5'5", 5'6", obviously not built. So my peak lifting is like a minor in comparison. So I'm never going to get that kind of same level of feedback, so I don't even bother. It just seems a little bit redundant. But it's
but I think like hitting personal goals is like you say, if you can learn to take a step back from what you think is society's version of the perfect man, for example, and you can have your own idea in your head about how you would look better and how you would feel better. If you can hit them goals, then that's when the self-confidence and the inner confidence comes about, and that's when you can like actually think, you know what, now actually I look fucking good. Like, I might not look like that guy, but he hasn't got this that I've got. And it's like, it gets rid of the whole comparison thing, and you just compare to yourself, and it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, I think that's something that like people are trying to drill home more and more now, is like comparing yourself to yourself is so important, because if you compare yourself to other people, you're always going to find someone better than you. Like, it's just a given. Like, whereas if you start, like, I used to be really bad for it, mate. Like, I used to look at other people and be like, fuck's sake, like, I'm never going to be that. But then I look at pictures of myself a few years ago, or just think about the position I was in my life a few years ago, and I'm like, if I think about it like that, I just feel way more confident within myself, because I'm not worried about other people. I'm worried about like self-improvement, which I think is really important. Like,
definitely, 100%.
But you mentioned about going vegan. So obviously I've known you were vegan, but at what point did you go vegan, and like why did you decide that that was something you wanted to do?
So to be honest with you, right, I ate so much meat and eggs and fish and everything like that. I never really never really made like a connection. I stopped eating dairy quite a while before I even had any kind of idea about veganism and shit. But that's just because I didn't like the idea of it. I didn't really get on with it too well. I didn't like. Again, I've got a cat interrupting me.
Standard Zoom.
So,
What's going on?
And then I didn't really make the connection. Like I said, I found dairy was a bit like I just didn't enjoy it. Like if I had too much milk or cheese or something, I felt like a bit shit. So cut that out. And then my ex, who I was with at the time, went like vegetarian and went vegan. And I had already started thinking about it at this point. And the reason I didn't go initially was because I was too stubborn and I didn't want her to be like, "Oh yeah, I told you so." You know what I mean? I was like, "No, fuck that." I was like, "No, I'll keep eating chicken then." And then like, eventually I just watched the documentary called Earthlings. And
yes.
it basically just confirmed in my head a lot of what I thought was going on. And then I was just like, mate, I was like, after seeing that, I was like, I can either make the choice now or I'm not going to make it. Like, because I can't just put it to the back of my head for a few months and then be like, all right, I'll stop eating meat now. So literally I watched that, mate, and then like, that was it. I just stopped eating meat. And then, yeah, that was like nearly 6 years ago, man. So it's been a pretty consistent decision to stick by.
Never went back.
Never, man. Not once.
I mean, just out of curiosity then, so when you were in your phase of obviously training, you know, hard,
yeah,
was that the kind of turning point, and were you still doing that when you turned to veganism and you saw these kind of issues? Were you still able to kind of maintain that, or were you in a different point of your life by then?
To be honest, like when I first stopped eating meat, I was still training, and I was still a big guy. And if anything, I think my strength went up. I had like a lot more energy. So like one thing I noticed when I used to eat so much, like before I went vegan, is I just get fatigued a lot because I was a big lad. I'm like 5'10", 5'11", and I was like way over 100 kilos, man. I was like carrying a lot of weight around. So like I'll go to the gym and I'll do a few like heavy sets, and then I'll be like, fuck, man, I'm like head spinning and I'm running out of energy and shit. But so when I went vegan, I found that my energy went up a lot more. So in turn, that my strength went up. So I didn't really my physique or anything didn't really change. It was just I just got bored with training. I was just like, I was a personal trainer at this point, and I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I hate the gym. So I spent like every day in the gym for like the last 6 years, and I was like, I've just realised I hate it now. So I lived like that, man. Just like that. I was like, I'm not going to train for a bit. I had like 3-4 years off the gym, man. Now probably about 3 years off, just not training. And I was just like, I partied a lot. I fucking I partied a lot. And you know what, man? Like I don't regret it one bit. Like I done what I wanted to do when I was younger, and I got to the shape I wanted to get in hindsight. And then I allowed myself to have time off, do what I wanted to do. Didn't really eat too well, drunk a lot, got on it a lot. And then when I come back to training again, like probably 2 years ago, I was just a big lad still from all the muscle that I used to carry. So I could just go back in the gym and I still have like quite a decent strength. And then that's where I sort of found the balance, because I went from up there to like down there, and then I was sort of back into the middle now, which is like the happy medium for me.
The perfect ground.
Yeah, that's it.
I remember something you said to me once about like, obviously you were really like, your peak of being in shape was probably like 25, and I remember you said to me, you were like, if anything, I'm gonna fucking just get in shape later in my life, because otherwise I've got to maintain it for longer. Like, that's such a good point. Like,
mate, do you know what I mean? I'm like, when do I want to look that good? I'm like, right now I'm doing all right. Like I'm not struggling too much with how I look. So I'm like, mate, fuck going into the gym and doing 2 hours a day and eating 7 meals a day again. Like, I ain't got the time for it, man.
Yeah,
and I think that's. I mean, there's. I don't know how factually true this is, just so people don't quote me out on it. But I heard a fact the other day that you hit your peak fitness when you're like 27 to like 32 or 33.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, as a male, you're kind of most in tune with being able to, you know, mentally, physically, blah blah blah. So it's a case of like whether actually do you kind of save it for later on?
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's like, I think with things the way they are in terms of like social media and comparing yourself to other people get into it at a younger age. And like, I think when you're say 14, 15, 16, whereas maybe when I was back at school, you was more focused around just sports. You know what I mean? Like what football team you played for, or you played rugby or something like that. Whereas now it's a lot more like, oh, nah, mate, I've got my fucking Gymshark tracksuit on. I'm going to go bench with the boys and film it. And like, and it's a lot more orientated around the gym and around image. And I think that like a lot of people will end up doing a similar thing. They'll peak quite early and then they'll be like, mate, I'm not going to keep this up for the next 50 years. Like, give yourself a bit of rest. So like, there's not really a right or wrong answer, but like for me, it worked well. I think some people will probably go hard when they're younger and maintain it, and fair play to them. But yeah, man, like you know what I mean? I'm 28 now, and I'm far from my physical peak of fitness, but I'm content with where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. I mean, I'm 26 in it, so I think it shouldn't make a difference. And I think as long as, like you said, you know, you're content and you're happy and you're being more happily mentally, I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
Yeah, I think I'm like, in terms of like the exercising and staying in shape, I'm way more hard on myself when I'm like, say I'm in like a period of like a few months where I'm working out 4 or 5 times a week. I'll look at myself and be like, fuck, I'm not even in that good a shape. But if I have like 4 or 5 months off, like I did this summer, like just get pissed all the time down the beach and that, I haven't worked out for like 3 months, but I'll look at myself and be like, I look all right, you know? And when it's just like the mindset, considering I'm not doing any exercise, but I'm way happier with the way I look. It's weird, man, how your brain...
Yeah, that's the thing. You definitely get engrossed in it when you're training more and you're like striving. It's that old joke, innit, of like, oh, I've been to the gym once, why am I not ripped yet? But like, you know what I mean? But like, you keep going to the gym, so you're constantly looking in the mirror, like daily, thinking like, why am I not making a difference? Why am I not making a difference? But as soon as you step away from the mirror, step away from like the fucking self-judgment for a few months, you'll actually probably look back and be like, actually, no, I was doing all right.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, this is a big question. So, I mean, I might learn more of this answer than most people that are listening to this will do. But for me, I'm you know, when I train, I like to be able to see the progress in it, and I try to make this the most kind of, you know, the most way this gives me the most humility. But how do you kind of step away for people listening that like to see that progress and like to see that instant progress, because it is important? And how do you step away, and how did you kind of become more confident with yourself, and what process did that take?
To be honest with you, like it's not like an overnight thing. Like I say, because I had fizzled out of my love for the gym because I was spending so much time in there. Like I was in the gym like 12 hours a day because I was PTing, and it was all I seen. You know what I mean? In the gym, we see mirrors, so all I seen was myself, and it was just constant. And it was like I didn't really have that desire to change my image much more. I was just like, mate, fuck this, I'm bored of it. Like, I think for people who constantly strive for that like improvement and stuff, like that's a good thing to have, as long as you like don't go ham on yourself. Do you know what I mean? Don't like, you're not going so hard on yourself all the time. Like for a start, like I'd say mirror isn't always going to tell you the truth. Do you know what I mean? You can look in the mirror in the morning, and you can look in the mirror, after you've been drinking, and you'll look dehydrated and you'll be like, mate, I look lean. Or you can look after you've eaten a big meal and you'll be like, mate, I look fat. And it's like, I think the best thing to do is just like, yeah, man, have like a journal if you want, like where you can just measure with a tape measure, like the things you want to measure, like how big are my arms or how big is my waist. And then that way you can track any progress. Or if you see yourself slipping away from what you want, you can track that. And then you can make like necessary adjustments, but without forcing yourself to constantly be looking at yourself and constantly worrying about what it is you're doing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that answer. I think it's a nice insight, isn't it? Because a lot of people, I mean, from the kind of start of the pandemic, to give you an example, are obviously very much into the healthier body, healthier mind, which I think is an excellent movement to have. And it's one that is more important for your mental health than it is your physical health, which we can get into
definitely.
shortly. But I also think it comes with that added pressure of this kind of Instagram movement, you know? of like, you need to look like this to be able to fit in, or you need to look like this to be able to get this kind of thing. And I think it's, you know, what you've obviously had is this incredible balance.
Yeah. And you know what, as well, like, people like, you've got to remember as well that, like, things you see on Instagram, man, they're so edited. Like, mate, I'm good at it, man. I got a fucking dad body. I can stand in front of a certain light with a bit down lighting, and it'll make me look like I've got a lean stomach. Like, mate, I do that. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes me look better. But I don't lie to people. I don't lie to people and say this is like my fucking physical shape. You know what I mean? I'm like, someone says to me like, "Fucking hell, you look quite lean in this." I'm like, "Yeah, mate, it's just good lighting." I'm like, I'm a lot fatter than this photo suggests.
Yeah,
it's honesty then.
About that honesty. I was gonna say that, like, lockdown and like the pandemic in general has made it a bit funny. I don't know about you boys, but like, I've flip-flopped all the way through it. Like, I've been like, oh, it's lockdown, I'm gonna get a head start on like everyone else. I'm gonna work out loads. I'm gonna get in mental shape, and then when I see everyone again afterwards, it's gonna be like, whoa, what the fuck's happened to you?
Yeah.
But then the next week I'll be like, fucking hell, the world's probably going to end. I'm just going to get fucked all the time. Like, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Like, and I'll literally, in the last year that we've been in this, that's happened like 4 or 5 times. Like,
same as that, man. Same as that. I didn't say I was going to do dry January. I said I was going to do like damp January. So just have a few.
Yeah.
That was like wetter than, it was like wetter than any month of last year, man. I've just gone ham again. But like, you just got to fucking not be too hard on yourself during this time. Like, me and the missus, we've got like, we just made like a little 6-week program thing. So we just put on different days, like, just to give ourselves a bit of structure. Because like you say, you wake up and you're like, I've got nothing to do again. I've got nothing to do again. So like, you don't force yourself to do anything. So all we do, like, we'll put on certain days of like, right, I'm going to do a spin class in the morning. And then the next day is a day off. And the next day is like, we're going to do weights. And then the next day we'll go for a walk or something like that. And it's just having that one little thing that you can do. It's just like, okay, but at least we've done that. So we know that if we do want to have a drink, like, we've at least done something to benefit our body a little bit before doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it comes down to balance again, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively, mate. Like, it's. I think the lockdown last year was a lot easier because it was summer. Do you know what I mean? You could go for a nice walk. Yeah. You could sit in the garden or whatever. Like, it was a lot more relaxed. Whereas now you get up and you've got like 3 hours of grey daylight, and then it's dark again, and you're like, fuck me, you're like, there's another day gone.
It's so horrible. Yeah, lockdown last year was banging.
Yeah, wasn't it, man? It was sick. We're just having barbecues every day, mate.
I think it's.
I mean, aside from the obvious, just to point out to people listening, aside from the obvious and the obvious stress that is put on people,
yeah,
and the loss, but from a general public's point of view, like, obviously there's been a lot of benefits to having that time to yourself.
Yeah, I think there's been like, obviously there's been loads of negatives with it, but I more mean like nothing, like, not in my lifetime, not in any of our lifetimes, nothing like that's ever happened. And there was this kind of semi-excitement around like, what the fuck's going on at the moment? Like, this, it didn't feel real. And this is, again, Sam, something I saw on your Instagram earlier about like, I think we should all agree to stay our respective ages until this is over. I was saying the other day, I was like, I'm 23 until the pandemic finishes. I'm not.
Mate, I can't come out of this fucking lockdown and be nearly 30, mate. Like,
no, you're not, Sam, at all. I mean, I celebrated my 25th.5 birthday in lockdown. You know, like, I'm not 26 yet, innit? Like, and I'm almost not 27, so it's fine.
No, I'm sticking with 28 for another year. I like the number, mate. I'm happy with that.
28.2. Fine.
Nice even number.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I'm all about that.
Something I wanted to get onto, mate, and obviously pick your brains about. Obviously, I've heard a bit about it from when I, like, obviously first met you, because you'd either just filmed it. Well, yeah, you just filmed it, or it was just about to come on telly. So you're on a reality TV show called Killer Camp.
Yes, I was.
Do you want to briefly just tell people who might not know what that sort of was?
It was a fucking. I'll be honest, mate. It was a cringy Halloween week-long reality show where it was like a murder mystery kind of thing. I wasn't sold that. Okay, I was told I was being picked for this TV show called Summer Camp, which was like, in my opinion, it was just going to be like, you know, activities, you know, like get drunk with people, get to know people, have a bit of fun. And I was like, yeah, sick.
Standard reality TV kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not. I initially responded them saying like, no way, like, I'm not about that. Like, I'm not one of them kind of Love Island kind of people. Like, yeah. I know I've got tattoos and I pose on Instagram, so that's like half the criteria met. I was like, but I've got a bit more floating around in my head, and I just don't think I can be fucked with that.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's the exact kind of person we want. And I was like, all right, well, if that's what you want, then I guess it suits me. I will give it a bash. Don't know if you like auditions and shit. When I turned up, that's when they were like, oh yeah, so there's a big twist. And the show you're on isn't actually called Summer Camp. And I was like, okay, what the fuck is this? So I was there waiting for like my ex to walk around the corner or something. And I was like, don't do this to me. And then yeah, they like killed off one of the contestants, and then they were like, yeah, you gotta spend the next week trying to work out who the killer is. And then yeah, that was that, mate. It was filmed over about 2 weeks. It was aired over a week. Yeah, it was a good little experience, man. It wasn't something I would ever watch, if I'm being honest. Like I watched it once when it aired, and that's it. I won't ever watch it again. I'm not.
What was that like? Yourself on telly,
mate? It was funny. Do you know what? I didn't realise my voice sounded like that, but mate, I sound like a fucking robot on TV. I remember
Sam, just before you go even further, me and Khan, obviously, after producing the first few episodes of this podcast, right?
Yeah.
I've been sat there, and I don't know whether Khan feels the same. I feel like he's got much better voice for this kind of thing. I despise my voice when I'm on camera, and I'm like, is this how I fucking sound in real life?
It's really horrible, isn't it?
Mate, I sit there editing these, and I'm literally like, I fucking spend like hours like doing stuff, and I'm like, if I have to listen to this cunt like talking about myself, I'm like, fucking hell.
He's definitely talking about me here.
I'm listening to that. I'm like, babe, does my voice sound like quite like, you know, like nasally, like like that? She's like, no, your voice is fine. I'm like, no, I fucking hate it.
I'm not sure my balls have dropped yet. Like, I'm pretty sure they haven't dropped yet, innit?
Right, mate, we'll get
still waiting.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Sam. Let's carry on with you, actually.
Mate, yeah, watching yourself on TV, man, is weird. I remember one of the producers saying to me, she was like, because you know what I'm like, kind of like, and you can probably tell already that I'm quite not monotonous, but I've just got like a steady tone to my voice. I'm not really over expression it. I got like a bit of a dry humor as well. Do you know what I mean? Like when I make jokes, I don't really like make a loud like Lee Evans kind of joke. I'll just make a joke and keep the same expression, right? And the producer, I remember her saying to me, she's like, Sam, you've got to show more expression. I was like, why? She's like, because trust me, when you watch it on TV, you lose even more of what you've got, and you would just you would look bored. And I was like, no, it's fine. So like every interview, I'm like, yeah, it's all right today, thanks. And I watched it back, and I was like, oh man, she was telling the truth.
Yeah,
I look like the most boring individual. Mate, if I didn't know me and I watched that, I would like kill him off next because he's doing my nutting.
Yeah, fuck.
When does he smile? When does he show emotion?
But I mean, in terms of the actual kind of production, because this is something that, especially with reality TV, I mean, there was I don't know if you saw it on BBC iPlayer, maybe a few months ago, there was a show where they had this kind of fictional character, and he'd gone on to a show similar to maybe like Love Island, for example. Right. And it was all about his career as he came off the show, and how life kind of blows up and then it dims down. Now, I know that obviously a show like Love Island is absolutely huge, and maybe a lot different in comparison to what you did, but it's still that similar concept. And a big part of me thinks that actually, is there this kind of support system, this structure in place, and is there this kind of, we need you to be perceived this way for the sake of production in comparison to what your actual personality is like? Hugely,
man. There's so much like where you want to have a conversation with someone, for example, on set. And they're like, no, you can't have this conversation. I'm like, what do you mean I can't? They're sat next to me. And they'll be like, no, you can't have this conversation until you're being filmed. And I'm like, right, can you get this camera set up then? And then they'd set a camera up and they'd tell us what to talk about. I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted to talk about then. And they're like, no, this is what you've got to say. And like, there was certain things that I refused to say. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I'm not saying that. I was like, because you're going to make me look like a dick. I was like, I'm not being a dick. I was like, I'm being an honest man, and I've got a point that I want to make. And then you want me to turn around and say something different about that person. I'm like, I don't care about that person. I'm not going to start slagging them off. And I think they struggled to like get certain angles of certain people, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because they wanted people to say it. And we were all quite similar. We were like, nah, I'm not going to slander myself. I'm not going to like, I know it obviously makes TV, but at the same time, like, they just do it to make TV, whereas the people on the show are the ones who take the flak for it if they're a dickhead or if they're not. And like,
And do you think that's a kind of a running point from, because obviously, like, I mean, I know this is quite a deep kind of way to turn the conversation, but the things like Caroline Flack, for example, the other Love Island contestants that have committed suicide and have had serious mental health issues, and maybe this will lead on to the kind of conversation we'll have shortly, but do you think that's a kind of running thing from a lack of being able to actually embrace and being able to allow people to have that freedom of speech?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I genuinely, like, people are put on Love Island to make TV. They're not put on there to find love, or it's not like where one person goes on there to act themselves to become famous. Like, as much as they want it to be that, it's not. They're on there to create drama, to make TV. So for every good person, they're going to make someone else look bad, and that's the way it is. And you're kind of like, I think you've got to be very naive to not know that going onto a show.
And it was the same with you guys?
To an extent. I mean, the show we were on was like a bit more game show based at times, so it wasn't too much of that. But like I say, even then, you've got to understand that that's what you're getting yourself into, and if you don't know that, then there is an element of naivety towards you. And the only thing is that, like, you're told all this beforehand, but a lot of people don't care. They don't hear anything, because all they're thinking about is, I'm going to be famous and I'm going to be rich. And like, that comes with a price. Like, you've got to be really, really strong-willed in order to listen to constant hate from people. Even if you're like a good person on the show and you act good and you don't piss anyone off, there's going to be a handful of people on the internet who want to put you down. And like, I don't think people necessarily prepare themselves for it, because they're put on this pedestal so quick from nowhere to being there, and then like bang, they can't get off of it, and like it becomes like unattainable for them. And I'm not saying that it's their fault, obviously. Like, it is the fault of these trolls, but unfortunately, in the world we live in, they're always going to be there.
Yeah, and whether it's good or bad, it's always going to be good
they
or
are
bad
always,
in somebody
they're
else's
always
eyes.
going to be there. So you've got to just, like, I think shows like Love Island, the fact that there's been, was it 2 or 3 suicides now? Like
2, but someone from Towie as well recently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
there's so many.
Just get like, and the fact that they're like recruiting for the next series of it and shit, like, it's just like, what have they got to do for people to think, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea? Maybe this kind of show that now we're on our 3rd suicide isn't a good idea. Like,
but it's that blissful ignorance, isn't it? I think the people are like, well, I'm going to become famous to a certain extent overnight, and I'm going to make a lot of money, whether it's through good things or bad things. You know, we've all seen the kind of products reality TV stars sell. But you're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to be a household name within 6 weeks of you being out there. But then also, what happens to people's mental health after that?
I think it's this generation, though. Like, sorry, Sam, mate. Like, being an influencer is like a dream and an attainable thing for people now. Like, that's what, there are people who are like fucking 12, 13 years old, and they're like, I want to fucking be an influencer. Like, that's what I want to do. Mate,
it's that quick fix of problems.
5 years ago, not even that long ago, that didn't exist. That was not a thing. Like, and now it's like a fucking desired profession for a lot of young people. And what you said, Sam, was absolutely right. Like, people are blinded by this potential success and like fucking Instagram likes and sponsored posts and stuff, that they just don't give a shit and they don't consider the potential outcome.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's like, it's a fake world, because the second you turn your phone off, you're back in the room, and you're like back to being you, without all of this fucking fame, without all of these likes and numbers. Like, you're just back to being a normal person again. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. Because like, they can look at hate and that, but when you're just sat in a room. Do you know what I mean? If they've not got someone around them, they can have the biggest house and the best car, but bang, they're just lonely.
And
like,
all you sat around really is looking through your old comments, going, "Was this good? Was this good? Was this good?" And I think, and this kind of as well, like, I mean, this is very off topic, but this kind of also sits very well into your bio. On your Instagram, which is something me and Khan discussed quite heavily as well. Maybe more so than what we probably should have done. But just being, you know, a happy man, and I kind of want to make a bit of an outtake of this, where I want to ask you. You've obviously done all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And for somebody like myself, I think that's a level of confidence which is often unattainable. However, it's fairly produced in your case.
Yeah.
And I would like to kind of see how your mindset was from going from this persona to the genuine persona. Not saying that it wasn't genuine before, but you know, what you would now perceive as genuine. I would like to know what you thought your main mindset shift was.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, like a lot of the time when I was younger, and I was like I was driven by sort of things that didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? I had the worry of like, what am I going to do for a living, and am I going to find something that I enjoy? Like I was like, I need to find a job, I need to earn this much, and then I need to look this way, I need to be big, I need to be strong, I need to be ripped. And then I was just constantly chasing something that didn't really matter. Spending them
Not
probably
like the cat.
For me, yeah, the cat is I think spending a couple of years off the gym is what made that big change for me, because I didn't realize how much it actually took up. Because for example, I wouldn't go out with my friends on a night out because I'm like, no, I've got to train tomorrow, I can't be hungover for that. So having that time off, I focused on life. It sounds a bit fucking corny, whatever, but I just focused on just living, like seeing the people I cared about, doing things I wanted to do. Like I just set up a bed in the back of my van, and I'll just drive somewhere, like whenever I fancied, and I'll just go and stay somewhere different. And being outside, I just appreciate the world that we lived in. And obviously going vegan as well, I feel like I made a bit more of a connection with like nature and with the world. And then I just become generally happier inside. And I didn't have to try for it anymore. Like I'd go out and I'd meet girls, or I'd go out and party with my mates, or I'd do the normal things that everyone would do, but I never had demons. And like, I know that's such a rarity now. Like so many people struggle with mental health issues with the world that we live in. And like with constant reminders of things on social media as well, that's just something that's always there. But I just spent enough time with me, just on my own, like as a single man, just like doing what I wanted to do, that I found that I just found like, I guess like just contentness. And I wasn't striving for happiness, but I was striving for contentness, because like happiness is like, something I said before, is like happiness is an emotion. So happiness can come and go, like the same as sadness or anger, whatever. But contentness is something that you have. It's like a level. And if you can find contentness, then you can build from that. And you'll have happy days and sad days, but you've always got that level of contentness, which is where you remain. And I think that's what I wish I
could. So do you know in like the Charlie Sloth shows where they wheel up certain things? I wish I could wheel up that whole paragraph there, because that was fucking meaningful.
Yeah,
man, sick. Glad you liked it.
Yeah, man, that was honestly, like, that was really honest. And yeah, man, that's exactly kind of what we're hoping this is about.
Cool, man, good. But yeah, mate, like it's one of those, mate. We're all striving to be happy people, to be happier people. I think like you can't pressure yourself, you can't rush it. Like I said, I was lucky that I spent them 2 years out of the gym, out of what used to be my comfort zone, to sort of create new comfort zones for me. And then I come out of that as I am now, and I've just sort of been the same since.
It just sounds like you got out of your own head, which is something that I like.
Exactly.
Like anyone who like comes to me and talks to me, like if they're struggling with themselves and that, I'm like, it's so important to get out of your own head, which it sounds like a stupid thing to say because you're always thinking, but like,
Nah, you're right there.
you can literally, like, recently, there's a page called Let's Get Men Talking. I've done a little post on there, and I just put, like, just don't destroy yourself with your own thoughts, because it's so easy to do. Like, everyone overthinks. If you get on, like, a negative train of overthinking, you'll ruin your whole life in the space of 5 minutes in your own head. And, like,
Yeah.
it sounds like
100%.
you spent 2 years, like you said, just doing shit and keeping yourself so busy that you forgot to fucking, like, worry yourself about things, which is really difficult
100%.
to do.
And I think a lot of it as well come with, like, my relationship with other people. Like, I'm a very outgoing person. Like, I always want to be around people. Like, I love meeting people, man. I love chatting to people. I love just, like, understanding new people and getting their way of thinking and their way of life. And I think it comes to that and just being a good person to people, because, like, even if you don't see yourself as a bad person, if you might make snide comments or you might bitch about someone behind their back without them knowing, obviously, but you still have to live with the fact that you've done that. And you might not directly link it to your sadness, but part of you in your head would be like, why do I need to say that about someone? Like, and the second you start losing them little bits of negativity, they can be replaced with positivity. And then
I mean,
you lose a little bit less.
it's like I don't know. Like, I used to work in sales for some perspective, and you would meet some people. So mine was all face-to-face public engagement, to give an example. And you would meet some people that would automatically brush you off, which is absolutely fine. But you'd be like, oh, what a fucking dick. But then after a couple of years, I had this manager who, she was fucking brilliant. And she turned around to me and said, actually, instead of counting all of the people that you thought were fucking horrible, which, you know, they might well have been, why didn't you actually just count the people that have been really positive to you? And it was such a minor adjustment. And I mean, obviously, when you have these negative trails of thought, like Khan was mentioning earlier, it is very difficult to get out of that kind of mindset, isn't it? Like, oh, this shit thing's happened to me. I woke up and the old story goes, like, I've stubbed my toe. So I would wake up, I'd have this shit person talking to me, and I'd be like, fuck, I ain't going to do very well at my job today. And then after a while, you try to train yourself to be like, actually, do you know what? I woke up this morning, I went to work, and this person said no, but they bought me a coffee, or they said no, thank you. And the simplicity of being able to interact with people in that way really kind of carries you into building that kind of positive mindset. And I think it is, like, you know, it's mind over matter, 100%.
Yeah, and it's just finding that way, and it's never like a quick fix, but little adjustments, I think, go a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's realizing that, like, I sometimes think about how complicated, like, my own life can be and the things that go on in my head, and I'm like, fuck, every single other person in the world it feels like the exact, like, they have all their own shit and all their own thoughts. Like, no wonder sometimes people are fucking grumpy or wankers. Like, life is, being a person is so, like, difficult and so but fuck that prick. But, like, everybody's got their own shit, and, like, like, you've just got to count the people that are sound, because they always have more of an impact than the people that aren't. And you've got to be, to a certain degree, forgiving of people who can be dickheads sometimes, because, like, I fucking do it as well. Like, sometimes I'll have a day where I'm like, fuck, I think I was just a dick to everybody today. But that's everyone does it, don't they?
I think good energy is reciprocated, regardless of whether it's instant or further down the line. I genuinely believe that. I'm not saying that, like, you know, give something to the universe and it'll give back. Like, you can word things how you want, like whatever
you're not on no Rhonda Byrne shit.
But sorry.
You're not on no Rhonda Byrne shit, you know, the kind of, I'll dream of a Ferrari, therefore I'll get a Ferrari.
Oh yeah, mate. I don't. My dreams aren't that vivid, man. I won't go into them though. But I think just positive energy and good energy is reciprocated, like, one way or another. So it's just little things that will eventually come back to benefit you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, speaking of dreams, and you saying we won't go on to your dreams, in my opinion, you're sort of living one of your dreams at the moment, mate, because this is something I've been fucking buzzing to speak to you about. So,
Go on. What we got?
the old OnlyFans business.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I towards the back end of me working with you, because obviously I left,
Yeah.
moved on to different things, but me and you always used to talk about, like, obviously you used to love chopping out. Who doesn't?
Always do. Always have.
Yeah, one of your
It's that honesty, mate. I love this honesty through this whole conversation. It's
Mate,
fucking
this is what I'm
brilliant.
saying. Sam, from the first day I met him, Sam was always down to have an honest conversation, and our old boss was also very down to have an honest conversation. No, we always,
Which we'll find out shortly.
as lads do, like, we used to make the odd joke about wanting to be a porn star and that, but obviously not most people don't actually mean it. Sam, you now do have an OnlyFans. How did that come about? Like, how did it actually get started?
I mean, so I like had people message me previously on my Instagram, like way before I'd even thought about OnlyFans or anything like that. Just like some old dude. I remember the first guy, it was some old dude from like, America, and he just messaged me and was like, mate, he's like, you're so hot. I was like, thanks. He's like, how much for a photo of your dick? And I was like, mate, I'll be honest, I don't know the going rate. And I was like, how much are you offering? And mate, he offered me something ridiculous, man. It was like, he offered me like 200 quid. And I was like, for a photo? But obviously, naturally, mate, if someone starts off, you go high. It's negotiation, isn't it? So I was like, nah, 400. And then eventually he paid me 350 quid for 2 photos, man.
Wow.
And I was like, shit. I was like, that was really easy money. And then this same guy, like, he's stuck in contact with me a bit, and every now and again he'd buy some photos or buy a video off me or something. You know, he was actually really beneficial for me financially. Like, he paid off like a half.
I mean, if someone asked me for £350 for a dick pic, like,
Mate,
I've sent that shit for free.
Yeah. And like, yeah, he ended up paying like a parking ticket of mine that was like 450 quid, man. And he just paid it straight off, and I was like, this man. So anyway, yeah, like
My
one thing.
guy.
Yeah, like obviously one thing like led to another. Like, you get a little bit more confidence if someone else, you notice if someone else, like, is in your message requests, like, oh, I really want a photo or something. You're like, yeah, fuck it, man. That's what I do now. And then, so like obviously after Killer Cam being on TV, despite the fact that I'd say most of the people who watched the show and followed me from that were like, I don't know, man, like middle-aged women or like young teenagers who were at school still. So there was no benefit for me for them. But there was a handful of like pervy men who were like, mate, seeing you on that show, and like, you know, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. And I'm like, yes, sick, let's do it. So I ended up making like a Twitter page, because Twitter's like the only real social media that you can get away with being not safe for work. Instagram, you get shut down real quick. Facebook is just full of family, so they don't want to see that.
Racist uncles.
Yeah, man, fucking innit. And then yeah, so like I made that in January, and built it up a little. I had like a few thousand followers after a month, and then obviously lockdown was announced, and then I was like, well, mate, I'm on furlough. I've got loads of time. Well, like, what am I going to do? I might as well make an OnlyFans. So I made it. Obviously, I moved in with Nikita, who's my missus now. She's had OnlyFans for a few years. So like, I set it up. I was like asking her questions like, you know, what should I do here? What should I do there? And then like, mate, before you know it, it was doing well, man. Like, I've been doing it for like, it's been like nine months now, something like that.
And is this a full-time kind of profession now, or
well, no,
how would you kind of define yourself career-wise now?
So I'm still on furlough, so I still work. Plant Hustler it's called now, and they changed the name. But I'm furloughed, so I'm still getting like 80% of my wage.
Yeah.
And then whatever I earn on my OnlyFans, I take. Obviously, I've got to pay tax on it, but you know, I just keep that to one side. So it's good. Like, it's been an extra earner for me. It's definitely not. It's definitely not as glam as some people might make it out to be, or as easy. Like, the idea of being like, I get paid to have sex sounds great, but mate, let's be honest, yeah, like most of 90% of my fans are gay. So me having sex with my missus is not that desirable to them. I'm sure you can imagine the kind of things that they want to see me do, and that's fine. You know, I'm in it to make money, man. That's what I do.
No, I appreciate that, bro. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie here. This is a very clear point for me, right? I could never, ever, ever, ever do that purely because of two reasons. One, I'm not that great looking. Two, I just don't think I've got that physicality that people want to see in it. However, I think that actually this is a and rightly so, is a very female-dominated market.
Massively,
and I
yeah.
think it's really great for guys that are actually be able to be open and be able to proudly speak about this kind of shit, because it is really important. And I think it's a niche in the market for people to be able to jump on. And there's a lot of people like, oh, I wish I could just fucking sell my body, or I wish I was just a good looking girl and get away with it, which obviously makes it more of a negative connotation to women. But actually you're there going, you know what? No, you don't have to think like that. I can fucking do this, this, and this. So why can't you?
Yeah, exactly, man. And I think, do you know what? I think some of the people who do better on OnlyFans are like people who you would say are aesthetically less good looking. And
well, thank you very much, my friend.
and the reason being is because it's like the sort of girl next door or boy next door kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's more relatable, it's more approachable. And yeah, man, some of the people who I see doing well on OnlyFans, I'm like, Jesus, man, how? But it's just, again, it's just.
I don't know, match me next up to you, and I think we would be able to compare incomes, isn't it?
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, though, Luke. I'm sure.
Yeah, I say so, but I feel like the beauty is in the eye of the mass beholder.
If this blows up, mate, set up an OnlyFans, see how we do.
I tell you what, should we put a vote on this? Like, should we could be like me or Sam, who wants to see an OnlyFans video? I will put my life savings on the fact that it won't be me, innit?
Yeah, but he's got the head start, mate. He's got the head start. But no, I think.
Anyway, this isn't about me, so.
But no, Sam, mate, this is why I wanted to get you on to talk about this. And like, mate, thank you so much for talking about it, because when I knew you and we got on quite well, like instantly, because you were just not a very judgmental person. Like, I clocked very quickly that I could talk to you about pretty much anything. And I'm generally like, quite a lot of my close mates would like, I just talk about things that they're like, shut the fuck up, like that's too far, like don't talk about that. But like with you, it's like you could always just chat about anything. And like OnlyFans I remember hearing about it as a thing about 2 years ago. In the last year to 6 months, everyone and their fucking dog is doing OnlyFans, mate. Like it's literally like the most booming industry in the world at the moment.
It's crazy, mate. It's just kicked off. And obviously with lockdown and stuff, a lot of people are like, I need to make ends meet. Like I need to try and earn some extra money. But I'll be honest, man. Like easy money, it is the most opposite from that. Like it is not easy at all. People think that they just sign up to OnlyFans and they'll start making $1 grand or $2 a month. Like. Yeah. Mate, you got a graft, and like, don't get me wrong, like me and my missus have made like a couples page as well. So whatever we film together, we'll upload onto that, so people can subscribe to like just me or
link
just
in the bio,
or to our couples page. Yeah,
and we will put the links in the bio to this, because actually I think it's just as important to fucking publish this as it is anything we do.
Yeah, definitely, man. Mate, we got messaged from some TV production company. They're doing a documentary on Channel 4, filming it later on this year. And we had like a chat with them the other day, so something could come back from that as well. That would be pretty sick.
Big up, man.
That's quality.
Should be pretty cool, man. But yeah, like people often, you always get the same questions, like, mate, when I catch up with my old mates from school, and they're always just like, mate, fucking hell, that's mental. I can't believe you do that. They're like, do you not worry that like your photo is going to get leaked? I'm like, well, mate, like, I upload a photo of my dick. I don't upload it when it looks bad. Do you know what I mean? If it's going to...
That's such a great point. That's such a great point.
Mate, if it's going to get leaked, then that's just free advertisement. Like, you've got to think of it like that. So I just watermark everything and then just let the internet have it.
Exactly.
However, just before we jump into the next question, Khan, like, before you started doing this, and obviously if somebody was offering to pay my parking tickets, like I'd be fucking grand for it, innit? Because there's plenty of them, and I sit there sometimes and I think like actually, car insurance is quite expensive.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
It would be quite nice. However, there is obviously some negative connotations, and there is obviously. So I have another friend who models, and she does OnlyFans as well, and she's luckily been very, very, very successful.
Yeah.
But I think that it comes with a certain level of like, how do I say this? So it comes with a certain level of like derogatory expectance.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, or well, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming that you've had this kind of level to a point.
Well,
I would like to know what you kind of think and the process and how you deal with it.
The thing about it is, I don't like, not to my face anyway. No one's ever commented. I've not seen one single comment since I've had OnlyFans. Someone being negative about it. And let's be honest, the reason being is because I'm a bloke. Yeah, because people see a woman getting their tits out and they think, oh, she's selling herself. They see a man making money off their dick and think, oh yeah, what a lad. And at the end of the day, the only reason OnlyFans and shit like that is around is because women have actually started taking empowerment from their body.
That, yeah.
You know what I mean? They've not sat back and been like, oh no, I've got to do everything I can to make the man happy. They've gone, no, do you know what? I can make money from being me, from modeling if you want to do modeling, or from porn if you want to do porn. They can make money off their body. There's gone so much more in that direction. So that's why women will get given a shit. But I think like when you make an OnlyFans, for example, when you start posting content, you have to rid yourself of that any thin skin, because you've got to be like, yeah, this shit can happen, but I'm doing it for me, and I'm fucking killing it. Simple as that.
I think
so. You mentioned your girlfriend obviously was doing this, and
yeah.
Obviously, I want to gauge the exact same kind of question from her point of view, because I think it is a fucking crazy industry, because obviously it's very patriotic to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And has your girlfriend experienced a different experience to yourself?
Not, to be honest with you, not necessarily. Like, I know she does it from without being secretive. I think that's the difference.
If you don't mind me asking, of course.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think some people do OnlyFans and they try and sort of brush it under the rug. They try and like only show a certain crowd. Like I have a different name for my adult content. That's just purely so people don't accidentally stumble across it. Not because I don't want people to find out. Like, my entire family know what I do. All my friends know what I do. I don't care. But I think when you try to be a little bit more secretive about it, then when people can find it and try and use it against you, or try and like give you shit for it. When you're only Instagram, for example, is, you know, like my missus does modeling and stuff, so a lot of her modeling is like lingerie and stuff, and then she'll be like, yeah, OnlyFans link, check it. I mean, she's not hiding anything. She's just like, she does what she does. She's proud of herself, and so she should be. So like, people have suddenly got nowhere to go with it, because all they can say to her is be like, oh, you're fucking selling yourself. And then all she's got to reply is saying, yeah, I'm probably making more than you. So,
and I think, mate,
like she's in a happy relationship, she's making cash, and she's doing something that she loves, which is fucking important.
Yeah, man, 100%.
I think the sort of people that sort of have a dig at people that do OnlyFans, particularly like guys who like will try and cuss girls out for it, it comes from a like area of jealousy that they're like, fuck, I can't make $2,000 a month off my body. Like,
100%. It's jealousies and insecurities, mate. It's the only people who always have anything to say.
Yeah, that's something.
It's very easy.
Mate. I saw you put up a TikTok and you were wearing a pink tracksuit.
Yeah.
And then, mate, this cracked me up, Luke. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you.
Nah, you haven't.
Mate,
you haven't.
Like thousands of comments, like hordes of comments of like, it's all blokes like, what's that fucking geezer doing wearing pink? And you go on all their profiles. They're all like fucking just.
They're all gammons.
Like, mate, proper, like, and you've done a thing, you were like, yeah, he hates his wife. You're like, that geezer hates his wife. His wife hates him. He hates his life, so he's having a dig at me on the internet. And that's what it is. Like, do you know how sad you have to be within yourself to just fucking have a dig at someone on some comments on the internet, mate. Like, it's fucking
Mate,
crazy.
I was blown away by it. So like, mate, on Facebook, right? I expect it because like, not like you should, but you just do because Facebook is it's where Karens and Darrens are born, right? Like, you see like an advert for skinny jeans, and all you get is 10 blokes commenting on it like, "Oh, did you get a free pair of balls with them?" And it's like, mate, not everyone wears fucking Henley's t-shirt and bootcut jeans still. You know what I mean? It's 2021. Like, we can get beyond that. Like, but people just dismiss it. And do you know what? I don't take any offense to any of the comments, man. But I genuinely find it baffling that in this year, this day and age, people there's A, used gay as an insult, and B, thought a man wearing pink clothes was gay. I was just like,
Yeah.
you're like a 40-something-year-old man, and you feel the need to go out of your way to comment that on a TikTok video. I mean, there's so many parts of that are wrong, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the whole TikTok thing in itself is wrong because this is an app that is predominantly dominated by people between the kind of ages of maybe 13, 18, 13 to 21.
Yeah.
And realistically speaking, if you're a 40-year-old guy on TikTok, you should be expecting some kind of shit. Not to say that you can't be 40 and go on TikTok, but
it's the older generation that just don't understand changes in society. And
it's social media, like it's social.
One of my mates about this the other day. I'm terrified of being that old bloke who doesn't understand what the younger generation are doing. Like, I hope I've always got the mindset to be like, nah, shit changes and it's cool. Like,
That's it, man. You have to like I only made the TikTok for just to drive traffic towards like my other accounts. So like, obviously I can eventually get fans from it. I can't put my OnlyFans or anything in my bio on TikTok. So I don't post like anything like sexual. Do you know what I mean? I just do like funny videos or shit like that. But it just builds up a following.
Obviously, like, it's a fucking huge thing. OnlyFans in this day and age, and there's so many different aspects to it. So one, obviously, being the kind of celebrity involvement, which I'm sure I can ask you a question about in a minute.
Yeah.
But also like the everyday kind of people, like you said, during the pandemic, that are needing to make ends meet, that are doing things like this, which are, I don't want to sound crass, but culturally out of the norm.
Yeah.
And they're making it the norm, which I think is really important. And for me personally, I'd like to say I'm quite left and I'm quite open. But for people, let's say our listeners who may be more central or to the right, which is fine. But I want to kind of make or get a statement as to why you think this is so important in this day and age to think about this with an open mind.
To be honest with you, I feel like it just gives people control over their body, and it allows people to make their decision and have no consequence in terms of other people's opinion or what's right and wrong. Because what they're doing is legal. What we're doing is legal. It's fine. It's absolutely acceptable. And what it does is it actually makes it a fairer world in terms of porn, for example. So like, you know what I mean? You can go onto Pornhub, right? It's a lot of it's very unregulated. So there'll be videos of people that have been leaked. So they're not getting any money from that. People are watching that thousands and thousands of times. They're not getting anything from it. They might not even want that video to be there, but they have no control over it. And all that is essentially is a library of things, some of which have been uploaded legally, some of which have been stolen, but who can control them? Whereas what things that OnlyFans are doing is just putting the content creator in control. And it just allows people to make the money, to have that self-empowerment, and to do it on their terms, which is really important, because if they're going to do it anyway, and people are going to do it, mate, porn is a huge industry. Like, you struggle to find anyone who hasn't watched porn. Do you know what I mean? So let people make their decision, and if you're not happy with it, just fucking shut your mouth and move on to something else. Simple as that.
I mean,
like,
I guess it is one of them, because I mean, if we look back through time, so people say, and I don't know how factually true this is, which is why I say people say, is that prostitution is the oldest profession in the world.
Yeah.
Whether it is or not, I don't know. But then from prostitution, you move on to pornography in a similar kind of context in terms of industry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you get this industry here. And then obviously you come from that point where you were just saying that a lot of people are trafficked and they're forced into doing this kind of thing. So it allows people to take back control. And
Exactly.
I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of people who will end up slating this kind of industry, and a lot of people who do slate this kind of industry, will also then log on to Pornhub at night
Yeah,
and type in like lesbian masturbation and something like that. Like we all log into Pornhub. I'm not going to lie. Like we all like fucking porn. And I think that this gives, like you said, it allows people more freedom to be able to express themselves. And
you
to
know,
be able
and
to
you know
actually, take control.
what you're doing with it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the online sex equivalent of support local businesses. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It sounds weird, but that's only because there's such a stigma towards the kind of industry that it is. And even when I say lesbian masturbation, one part of people is going to be like, yeah, this is what this guy listens to. Fucking right. And the other half is that actually, do you know what? That should be kind of normal. Like, why is that such a taboo subject?
People are fucking scared to talk about it. Well, I say people. Some people are. Some people aren't. Like, and I think the more we talk about it, the more we converse and make people realise that it's normal, the better, because it becomes less of a taboo subject and it becomes less of a grey area, and then you can actually talk about it in open conversation, and that in itself adds an extra element of safety, because people haven't got to try and hide things anymore. They haven't got to use different names, and they haven't got to, like, you know what I mean? They can actually become more rounded and at one with the community they live in.
And I think safety is a really important one. So obviously we are in a moment of history where consent and consent's probably the best word that is to be able to be used. And I think it's industries like this, for example, push that more positive perception of consent onto the rest of society.
Yeah.
You know, in a case of like all of these Me Too kind of movements, it comes from a place of like, we don't have consent, we don't have we're not fucking doing this willingly, blah 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 blah.
Well,
this makes it more the norm.
Yeah, for sure. Like there was a guy recently, I can't remember his name, something Bear.
The guy who leaked his girlfriend's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolute dickhead. And do you know what I mean?
Proper man.
That's a prime example of how this kind of thing can be unportrayed or portrayed badly, because he's filmed someone without their consent and posted it. That's a crime. That's committing a crime, and that's such a rarity. But that was a massive stir, of course. He got arrested when he landed back in the UK because of that, and that's one video on one platform, and that's what OnlyFans allows you, I think, is that control. Pornhub, there's been proved to be child trafficking involved with certain videos in Pornhub.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're still on there. Yeah, one video was posted unknown on someone's OnlyFans, and they got arrested for it. So the kind of difference of levels of control it offers you is unprecedented. So I think it is a real. I mean, don't get me wrong, OnlyFans has its problems, and like as a creator, you see that side of it. More to do with the actual website and the money side of things, but in terms of giving people the control and the putting the power in their hands, you can't really compare it to anything else. And I think it's the way forward for that industry.
It's funny, mate. Like I just done like a bit of like Googling and research and that, and like the actual OnlyFans community seems to be like very supportive and wholesome. Like everyone's trying to like boost each other up. Like
massively, mate.
You know how like you see this on girls like Instagrams and stuff. All the friends will be like, "Oh, you look great here, babe." All that stuff. Da, da, da.
Yeah, it's
literally the same thing, but it's on videos of their friends getting shagged. Like it's a hilarious part of the internet, mate. I love it.
It's great. It's great, mate. Like I'm so desensitized to it now, man. Like I probably see about scrolling through my Twitter timeline, I probably see about fucking 100 pairs of tits and 25 dicks and fucking 45 arses a day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all I see. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. So like that side of it is just like it's my bread and butter. You know what I mean?
I fucking
Just saying
do.
like that.
I mean, to drag this conversation out even more then, and Sam, like obviously I appreciate you probably have other things to do outside of this podcast.
Not an
making
awful
a
lot.
fucking living. And yeah, you're like, come on, mate, fucking get on with this shit. But you keep putting so many questions, and I think it's important to think that actually, where does this go for you?
To be honest with you, if I over the next couple of years make it to a stage where I'm earning enough money to not have to work full time, that's what I'll do, because I can
And you
travel.
think it'll go that big?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it couldn't. I know guys that do that. It's based purely on the amount of time you put into it. Like,
Yeah, like anything.
That's time on A, OnlyFans, but B, social medias. Like I've got 3 Instagram accounts. I've got 4 Twitter accounts. I've got Reddit. I've got TikTok. I've got Facebook. I've got 3 OnlyFans accounts. So that's like 14 different things that I've got to log into on my phone to post on, to check on. Like it's a lot. It's a lot of work. But if you maintain all of them continuously, then you just earn more. And like, mate, I've been lazy. Like over Christmas and shit, I'm like, I sort of allowed myself a bit of time off from it. Not a time off. I still posted daily on my OnlyFans, but like social media, I was like, I can't be fucked today. Can't be fucked. And you notice the difference. You notice how many subs come in and don't come in. But there's no reason why I couldn't. So yeah, I think my goal would probably be to earn that much, enough that I can warrant living off it. So then I can just travel and I can continue to do my work while I travel then.
And is this maybe it's a crass question? And obviously, you know, you can tell me to fuck off if you want. It's that kind of podcast. It's fine. But going back a few years ago, you obviously mentioned that you were obsessed with, maybe obsessed is the crass word that I will use. You obviously, you know, very into your kind of bodybuilding, and you were very into your image, and you were very set on being a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you see those same kind of addictive personalities in the work that you're doing now? And
no.
if not, like, why not?
Because to be honest with you, if anything, it's like, how do I word it without it's taken a bit of,
Be as crass as you can, my friend.
taken a bit of the enjoyment out of sex sometimes. And so like I say that not necessarily in my day-to-day life. Like we have sex and we'll be like, oh fucking hell, we should have filmed that. Do you know what I mean? And like we'll catch
Tom's like, for fuck's sake, why did I not get this on fucking record?
we'll have like do you know what I mean? We'll bang like once, twice a day, sometimes more, whatever. And then we'll be like, fucking hell, we still haven't filmed anything today. And then when you come to film something, that enjoyment isn't always there because you're like working it out based on the camera angle and shit like that. And that's why it's not an addiction. It's still work to me. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that I'm like, this is fucking sick, mate. Like all I got to do is get my dick out and I make money. Because mate, there's 100 men who are getting their dicks out and wanking. Like, mate, dick's a dick, innit? It's about making good original content. And do you know what I mean? To do that, you have to put more time and effort into it. And it is a job, whether people want to call it hard work or not. You've got to.
I mean, it is a job. Absolutely, it's a job. It's mentally and physically fucking straining.
Yeah, and that's why I would never like get carried away with it. I mean, the money's exciting when you see good money coming in, but at the same time, that can drop as quickly as it can go up. So it's just like it is a hunger thing. You've got to keep your hunger for it.
But what do you think about the kind of top earners of OnlyFans? So, for example, your Belle Delphines, where she sells £350 worth of bathwater.
Mate, it's fucking baffling. Fair play to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, fair play to them, but it's baffling to me because, like, even for me, yeah, and I'm, do you know what I mean, in the top like 7% of content creators, which sounds pretty good. Do you know what I mean? It's top 7% in the world, but the lower that percentage goes, the more and more competition there is. So these people are in like the top 0.0.01 or something. I even struggle to keep up with my messages and shit like that on OnlyFans. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll get like, I open my phone, there's like 8 messages to reply to. each of them with a different request of something. So these people who have thousands more fans, who have to constantly go back, I don't know how they maintain it, because like, if I'm paying for a subscription to someone, I want them to be replying to my message within a day.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they manage it, but I mean, like I say, fair play to them, man. Like that, it's fucking sick. They make ridiculous money, mate. Like ridiculous money, and like I'm talking
But do you
like.
think it's all about the money?
But for the top earners, I mean, it has to be, mate. If you're earning like 100 grand a month, something like that, then I can't see where else your thoughts can be at. Do you know what I mean? It's not about your bathtub water. They don't give a fuck about that, do they? Or they're doing it, sticking a cup in it. Like, for sure. And again, there's a big variety of people on the platform. That there's some people who will just post like model photos with topless, and some people who will do like fitness, but some people who will piss themselves on their main wall. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a variety. So some people will do it just for the money. Some people will probably do it because they enjoy it. So yeah, it's a big variety.
Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. That's why I wanted to get you on here, mate, just to get your perspective on things. Because I think, Luke, you've definitely had your interest piqued by it, which is why you had so many questions. But this is the thing, like, when I used to work with you every day, Sam, like the conversations we used to have, I was like, fucking hell, I don't think I've ever met anyone with this perspective on life. And that's why I wanted you to come on here, because I want other people to fucking hear your perspective on shit. Because like, even just in the things we like, there's loads more shit we can talk about, but even in the things we've just covered on here, mate, like you've said some really like interesting and like I think important things. Like your mindset is one I would say is very, very progressive, and we live in a generation where I think people are becoming more progressive in terms of their mindset, but there's still, like we were saying earlier about the Karens and Darrens on Facebook, there's still that generation of people that are very like closed off and unwilling to accept societal changes. But yeah, mate, I fucking love this chat. It's been brilliant, mate.
It's been good, man.
Luke, have you got anything else you want to
ask? Just before we jump off, obviously, as we do with every single episode, Khan, this is a brand new project, so please subscribe to our YouTube. Obviously, follow the Spotify podcast. We've now been released on Pocket Cast, on Google Podcast as well. So please, honestly, go and search those things, because as a new project, it's hugely important. But most importantly, thank you to Sam. And I would like Sam to, obviously, if he would like to, just give reference to his own channels as well, because I think that's much more important than ours.
Yeah, man. Just my Instagram, you can pretty much find anything from there. So it's just at Sam Aves. Link in the bio, you know the drill.
Yeah, mate, it's what we do with everyone that comes on. We'll put links to like your Instagram and stuff in the bio, so don't worry. Mate, like if people are listening to this and they think like, oh, he seems like a guy that I want to hear a bit more from. If you ever want to ask me questions or anything, message me. Like, I'll reply to messages. I'll chat to people. I like I said earlier, I like people. I like chatting and getting points of view from other people and give a mind. So if you want to speak about anything, then feel free.
Please do. And Sam, it was obviously you're a friend of Khan, so I just want to say, like, you know, this was for me, and Khan will probably tell me this in a minute, that I took over more of the questioning than what he had planned. But I just think, fuck me, man, like this has been such a nice, relatable, kind of cool episode.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
so thank you very much. It's been one of the conversations which really kind of features our name and featuring regular people. Not in the fact that you're regular, because you're far from, but in the fact that, you know, this is kind of how society is, and I really appreciate your outlook on that society.
Mate, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Geezer, and thank you everyone who has watched as well. Stay tuned for more.
Ciao.
Peace.